Yo, what is up guys? It is Bumfris, back with an episode of I Don't Work Here Lady. Today's episode is gonna be an absolute banger, and if you love funny stories about Karen, I have a feeling you're gonna love this one. Before we get into the video, here's your chance to earn 7,212 Bumfris points, so smash that like button down below and those Bumfris points are in your pocket. If you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe, then sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. A few years back, my significant other and I were lucky enough to win a free 3-day cruise to Japan. We live in Shanghai, so we packed our bags and head out to the port to begin our merry Japanese adventure. Since we had won the cruise, we were treated like other VIP members on the ship that paid top dollar for their tickets, with things like access to the VIP lounges, free drinks 24/7, and round-the-clock service that was actually quite exceptional. What we quickly realized though, is that I was the only non-Chinese person on the boat that wasn't an employee. I'm a white American and my significant other is Chinese. The first situation to arise from this factor was that other actual employees thought I was the new guy on board who got on in Shanghai, and this resulted in me having to explain to several people that yes, I can actually be in this area while the guests are awake, because I am in fact a guest. The other semi-annoyance that occurred daily were the Chinese guests mistaking me for a staff member. I would constantly get asked to bring towels and fruit to rooms when the next performance was, when does the casino open, which was only in international waters, and these people were itching to play baccarat for some reason. The hours of the duty-free store, do you have child sitting services, does the pharmacy have traditional Chinese medicine or only Western medicine, and anything else that you could possibly think of. I've been an expat for many years and speak Mandarin, so in the beginning, I would politely explain to them that I was on vacation too, and if you look just over there, there's an actual employee that can assist you. 95% of the people would accept that fact and go and find an actual employee, but about 5% would argue with me that I must be a Lawai, which is a foreigner, and this cruise was Chinese only. They were obviously lovely people. I just figured F it, I'll play along and have some fun and practice my Mandarin too. It began with a woman asking me to bring towels to a specific room. I said, yes ma'am, right away, then strolled over to the bar and began at-sea day drinking, which if you weren't aware is mandatory on a cruise. The next few people asked for towels and fruit, and I assured them that I would make it my personal mission to see to the timely delivery of their requests. Eventually, it developed into me giving fake directions for how to get to certain stores and restaurants, taking drink orders, being asked some fairly interesting questions about the functions of the ship by a kind old man who gave me a cigarette. He was interested in how the ballast worked on a ship of that size, and he was actually pretty cool. And just general complaining about the service and how they couldn't smoke inside except for the casino. This ship was pretty massive, so I never had to worry about running into these people again and continued to have my fun. When I told my SO about my dastardly ways, she had a good laugh and encouraged me to continue. She actually suggested that I use my Beijing accent that she had taught me, as she's a Beijinger, to add further confusion to the situation, as it's quite rare for a non-native to a region-specific passable accent, which I absolutely did. Anyway, this went on for the entire 3 days, including during our trips to inland Japan, as several of the people on our bus had rightly assumed I was a Chinese-speaking employee accompanying them as a tour guide. At a little town called Sakaminato, I pulled facts straight out of my ass and was lauded for my immense knowledge of both Chinese and Japanese culture. I was one of the good Lawai. I don't remember the last time that I read this subreddit, let alone made a video on this subreddit, but I've just realized after reading this story that I've been missing out on so much good stuff. Like, the fact that this dude just straight up embraces the fact that everyone assumes his employee, solely based on the way he looks, makes this one of the best I Don't Work Here Lady stories in my memory. If this is the first story in today's episode, I'm excited to see what else is in store for us. Okay, I finally got one. An I Don't Work Here and a Karen story. Here's some backstory. I own and operate a handyman business, and I do remodels, flooring, painting, light plumbing, electrical, basically anything that has to do with a house. Well, my wife wanted new flooring for the whole downstairs, so we went to the home improvement store that rhymes with Slows. I shop there a lot, and everyone in the place knows me by name. I was showing my wife all the options and was talking her into vinyl pink flooring. I was showing her how it goes together and telling her about it being 100% waterproof, scratch proof, etc. So after taking about 30 minutes, my wife picks out the style and color she likes and then goes off to look at some other things. As soon as my wife leaves and I start loading the plank, I hear the typical "excuse me," and I think nothing of it and keep loading. Next thing I know, I get a push from behind and again, "Excuse me, it's about time you finish with that woman. Now you must help me." I say, "Sorry, no, I actually don't work here." And Karen says, yes, you do. The other employees called you by name and you showed that woman what she needed. I say, sorry ma'am, that woman is my wife. Again, I don't work here. Karen's voice goes up to a screech and says, stop lying and help me now. I ignored her and went to load another box, and she grabs my arm and screeches, help me now or I will get you fired. I pulled my arm away and said, leave me alone. She yells, how rude. I will have your job, and storms off. I finish and go and find my wife, and shortly after I hear in that Karen's voice, there he is, he assaulted me and was rude. What are you gonna do about it? I turn to see Karen and Bill, who is the manager. Bill asks me what happened and I tell him. Bill looks at Karen and says, sorry ma'am, he really does not work here. Karen went off yelling, screaming, and threatening to call corporate, you know, the normal Karen stuff. Poor Bill just had to listen and I left. Fast forward to 2 weeks later, I get a call for a flooring job. I arrive to look at the job and give a bid. Knock on the door, and lo and behold, who answers the door? No one other than the Karen from the store. The look on her face was priceless, and my first words to her set her off. I looked at her and said, sorry, I don't work here, and left. This is the kind of crap that Karens do that one day is going to get them hurt. Like, it's one thing to go into a store and be adamant that someone who doesn't work there is an employee at the store, but it's another thing to physically grab somebody while demanding that they help you. While it doesn't sound like it ended up being too big of a deal at the end of the day, I'm glad this guy had an opportunity to get a little bit of revenge on the Karen because, let's be honest, unless there are people out there like this guy getting revenge on Karens, they're never going to change. A while back, I was in an office that allowed dogs. It was an open floor plan, and since customers never came into the office, we kept the dogs' food and water bowls right by the front door just because it was the most convenient space and no one else would see them but us who worked there. Of the 6 of us who worked in the main office area, I was the only one who didn't have a dog, as there was a no pets policy at my apartment and always felt horribly left out. To make matters worse, across the way was a doggy daycare. One day, a very frantic woman came in and she had an absolutely massive basset hound with her. Usually, the only people who came into the office were associates who had appointments with someone working there, but it was rare that they brought their dogs. She ran up to me and said, "Do you work here?" And I said, "Yes, how can I help?" And she says, "I wasn't sure if you took walk-ins, but I read online that I could just drop him off. I tried to call, but no answer." I didn't know what she was talking about at that point, and I said, "Come again? Who did you call exactly?" Thinking if I could just saddle her off to whoever she came to see, I wouldn't have to decipher her problem. She said, "Well, it doesn't matter now. Look, something urgent's come up and I really need to leave him here. Here's his food he likes and I'll be back in a few hours." And at this point, I wasn't thinking of the doggy daycare. I thought maybe she was a friend of someone here. I said, "Well, alright, can I get your name please?" And she said her name and then asked if I needed her to sign anything. And I was so confused at this point, I just said, "Why would I need you to sign something?" And she left almost immediately. So I took Otis to the back and showed him to my co-workers, and no one knew the woman or the dog. I was worried she wouldn't come back, but at the same time, my wish for an office dog had been granted. And Otis was supremely chill. All he did all day was lie around and drool onto his own ears. I just freshened him up every now and then, took him out every couple of hours, and he was happy as a clam on a big cushy dog bed that thankfully we had an extra of. He just loved attention from anywhere that he could get it. At the end of the day, the woman, thank goodness, came back. She said, "Thanks, you're a lifesaver. How was he?" And I said, "He was a champ," and was about to say, "But why is he here?" when she said, "That's a relief. Most kennels say he gets anxious around other dogs. I heard you operate at a much higher capacity, and I was thrilled to see that you had so few clients in the room at one time. So, how much do I owe you?" And that was when I realized that she thought we were a dog daycare. Now, I probably should have corrected her, but I loved my day with the office dog, and I did want to get paid for supervising this strange dog all day, so I just threw out the number that sounded fair and appropriate. "That'll be $20, I said. She replied, "Really?" in this very high tone, and I couldn't tell if I'd overshot or undershot, but she paid me and left. My co-workers were laughing hysterically when they realized what happened, and we thought it would just be a good story for the future. But the next week, she came back. She said we were so much more affordable and less overcrowded than her other place that she was happy to use us. I was glad for the company, so just took him. I didn't think there was any way she couldn't have at least some idea that we weren't a dog daycare. The whole ordeal was so strange, I just figured, don't question a good thing. I was much younger and dumber back then. Not long after, Otis started getting dropped off 2, sometimes even 3 or 4 days a week. I was in heaven. He was such a love, and he made fast friends with the delivery guys and visitors. One day, we took our office Christmas card photo and Otis was over that day, so we included him in a Santa's hat, and it was pretty great. But it turns out that Otis's owner was friends with one of our clients who I guess happened to have the card out on her table or was kind enough to display it alongside her other holiday cards. Because one day, Otis's owner came in holding the card and walked up to me and said, "I can't even believe I'm asking this, but is that my dog in this photo? This isn't a doggy daycare at all. This is just an office, isn't it?" She said it with a note of surprise, as though she was looking around and putting it all together for the first time. No coincidence that this was the first time she wasn't in some crazy rush either, and she was like, "Then who are all these other dogs?" And I explained. I was terrified that she was going to demand her money back, or worse, take some sort of legal action against us for misrepresenting ourselves as a dog daycare business, or complain to corporate. Instead, she basically said, "Why didn't you ever say anything?" And I explained that we just really liked having Otis around. She stopped for a minute and seemed to be thinking and said, "Is that right?" And I said yes, and told her the story of how I was the only one in the office without a dog, so loved the company. She seemed a little flummoxed or hesitant, understandably, because the whole thing was so weird. She turned to my coworker and asked if I was telling the whole truth. I don't know why she thought my coworker, also a stranger to her, was any more trustworthy than me, but hey, strange times. And my coworker backed me up. So she said, "Well, I wish you'd said something sooner. It could have saved me a lot of embarrassment with my friend back there, but alright, I have to get going. I'll see you at 4 o'clock. And she left Otis. I couldn't believe it. I said, "So he can stay?" And she replied, "Where else could I find someone to watch him one-on-one all day for $20? And off she went. Otis stayed my office dog until his family moved away. Luckily, right around the same time, I took a new job. This entire story was an absolute roller coaster from start to finish. Although yeah, it does fit the bill of an I don't work here lady story, this has to be one of the most wholesome stories that I've read out on my channel since I begun. If there are a lot more stories out there on Reddit like this one, I feel like the world would be a much better place. It's nice having a story end where a Karen doesn't absolutely lose it with someone, but hey, if every story out there was the same as this one, well, the internet would just not be the same. Alright everyone, that is that for today's episode of I Don't Work Here Lady. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have stuck around this long and listened to some of those awesome stories, make sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and let me know in the comments below if you've had a run-in with a Karen or something that would fit in this subreddit. Also, let me know what you think of this subreddit. It isn't something that I've done very often. I think this is only the 4th episode that I've done this, so if you did enjoy it, leaving a like or a comment to let me know will encourage me to do this type of subreddit more often. Otherwise though, tomorrow's episode will either be choosing beggars or entitled parents, whichever one I can get some better stories for. But I want to keep this outro reasonably short. I don't want to drag things on too much. Having said that, on your screen right now, what you will see are 2 awesome videos from my channel that I would highly suggest you click on. If you are bored and don't have anything to do, it is an amazing way to pass the time. That aside, that is that for today's episode of I Don't Work Here Lady. I just want to say again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another video. Bye.